A warm welcome to Joburg Today, where we bring you nothing but the best when it comes to local Jozi stories. I'm your host, Riley Sakwe. Transport Month was on its way 2 months ago, and for its official launch, Noshina decided to go on a road trip with Gauteng MEC of Transport, Ismail Vadi.
Gauteng MEC for Transport, Ismail Vadi, officially launching Transport Month. It's been going on now for 15 years. But 2015 marks a milestone. This year, the city hosts the second Eco-Mobility World Festival. That means there is a big focus on public transportation. Earlier in the day, I travelled with Ismail Vadi to Sandton using 3 different modes of transportation. We started off by hopping onto a Ria Vaya bus to get to Park Station.
I think that there's a big difference between taxi operations and public transport operations. Public transport operations work on scheduled services, so there'll be fixed times that buses run, trains run. Okay, now there might be technical problems. Sometimes with Plaza we have a lot of problems where there's cable theft or there's a breakdown, etc. But that's because it's a very old system. And in the Transport Month, we will be launching the new nerve center, the control center for Plaza, which is a completely modernized signaling system. So hopefully the scheduling will come right. And once the new trains come on board, that system will run quite well. But if you take Gauteng, it has a punctuality rate of 98%.
That's excellent.
It will compete with any system in the world. In fact, the previous year it won the global award for one of the best run rail systems in the world. It competed against Canadian, British, all sorts of rail services, and it won the global award. So punctuality is a critical part of public transport system. And I think Gauteng is setting the best practice. And okay, we're very good today.
Well, we were actually on time. It was good, and it wasn't quite. It wasn't a long wait because we got here at around 8 o'clock. Yeah, and scheduled to leave at 8:20, exactly 8:20. So it's good. It's very good. Our destination, Park Station, to get onto the Gautrain.
We don't allow any eating or chewing on the Gautrain.
That's it.
Now, the moment you make that provision here, be assured people are going to walk in with a cup of coffee into the train, and then the train jerks, and the thing spills,
People
and then
are carrying
messes.
their laptops with them on the train as well.
We've taken a stringent policy of no food on the trains, and therefore you're not going to get in the complex, in the train precinct, the station precinct, any food stalls.
That makes sense. It does make sense.
And we've had that unpleasant incident I think last year, the previous year, where some people were chewing, and the security asked them to spit it out, and there was a little bit of an altercation. And of course the commuter made all sorts of allegations against the security officer. Fortunately, we had a video footage of the thing, camera footage. And when we saw what transpired, the commuter was wrong. And we slapped her with a fine of 800 rands. But that's to send a message that you respect the rules. This is a public transport system. Everybody must enjoy it. And if the rule says no eating on the train, then no eating on the train.
And that was chewing gum?
Yes.
No chewing gum.
No chewing gum on the train.
So MC, welcome to Gautrain, Africa's pride and joy.
Yes.
You've won many awards for this.
Yes, I think Gauteng has won several international awards. All sorts of things. They've won awards for their own communication strategy. Some very prestigious awards. And then 2 years ago we won the best train operating services. Very, very punctual service, very reliable service. Very good growing ridership.
When you get in, you can see it's world class.
So it's a growing ridership. We're still not where we should be with our ridership. At the moment, it's 1.4 million passengers a month. But we should actually be doubling that in the next few years. So the prediction is that we'll get to that point in 7 years. But I've been telling the management agency that we really need to bring it down to a quicker time so that we can have a full ridership. And again, I think we're experiencing a similar kind of thing. Peak hour is exceptionally busy, very, very full, high demand. We're in the process of purchasing 40 new coaches because we can't cope with the pressure at peak hours. But then in the off-peak hour, I mean, the ridership is not very strong.
So it doesn't really support the feasibility of investing now in new coaches
you see
because of the numbers.
Yes, the off-peak period is important because it generates revenue, and if you can build that, I think you have a stronger revenue base. So that's really what we've done. I mean, last year we've staggered the prices now, so you have the fare structure for high peak periods is higher than the not so high peak period, and then for the off peak it's actually much cheaper to use the train as an incentive to get people to use the service.
The Gautrain station in Sandton has a new node that's been developed to facilitate buses, taxis and even tuk-tuks.
When tuk-tuks came onto the scene, a number of enterprising business people just got the equipment and started using it. And we had to meet with them quite early to say, look, you're going to have to register with us because you're offering a form of public transport services. If we go out here and an accident occurs and your passenger dies, what happens?
So
the passenger is seriously injured. So it's critical. I mean, that Investec had its own shuttle service. There's a number of clients that they get coming in and out all the time, going to the station, to the airport. So they provide their own shuttle service.
I wouldn't mind getting one of these for myself.
Then you can run around.
Just to move around the city. It's amazing. I've lived here for so many years. I had no idea we had so many tuk-tuks to move around, especially in the Sandton area that's so congested. You want to spend the day in Sandton, go shopping, whatever, move from place A to place B, just pop into the convention center. It's 25 Rand, which is kind of the lowest if you have to compare fees with taxi services. Even if you compare it with Uber, it's still quite low. And then the question for any consumer is, what is low anyway?
No, but I think, I mean, you've got to also look at their work, their labor and the effort that's involved, the running costs. And it has to be profitable, otherwise it won't survive. Which program?
Rashina Mohammed for Joburg Today.
My name is Tony Bed and you're watching Joburg Today.
We love hearing from you, so do hit us up on Facebook. That's joburgtoday.tv. Follow us on Twitter at joburgtoday. And if you're one of those people who are constantly on the move, then you can catch us on pockettv.mobi. That's pocket with an I. Transporting freight and people within and around Johannesburg, like we do today, will become unsustainable in the next 20 years. Experts predict that the ever-increasing urbanization of Africa's economic hub will dictate transport in the future.
Well, I think the city of Johannesburg has realized that we actually can't continue in the same way that we have been going. The burden that is going to have on the current infrastructure is going to be unsustainable from both a congestion perspective, but also from an environmental perspective. So the city is starting to look at use public transport to reshape the spatial aspects of the city, trying to reduce the distance and also the trip duration of both work trips, looking for work, for shopping trips and any other trips that happen within the city, trying to increase walkability, increasing both cycling and walking, and very strong focus on getting people out of their cars and into public transport. One of the key things that's starting to be planned for Gauteng more broadly, but specifically Johannesburg, is trying to ensure that we have freight hubs around the peripheral areas of the city that can ensure that transport of goods and food and all of that doesn't come into the already congested city, and are going to also hopefully not rely as strongly on trucks and road-based freight transport, and instead really try and ramp up the rail component. I think one of the tricky things with transport infrastructure is the length of time from planning to implementation and building. And And particularly, you can see in Johannesburg some of the BRT networks that they started building, they suddenly realized that the way that they'd planned it in the first place needs to be shifted in order for those networks to really serve people as it should. So there's a lot of learning from previous mistakes, and because a lot of what the city is trying to do is brand new. An example is the Gautrain, although it has seen some increase in ridership and some people shifting away from private car use, it also has a huge number of struggles as well, and trying to get people to use it as a viable daily transport is not possible for a lot of people because the additional network doesn't exist. I think for the authorities, I think really key is to increase and improve the communication with people, and also just incorporate people into the decision-making processes, because transport and travel is something that has a day-to-day impact on people's lives and also their finances. And on the other hand, I think city residents need to realize that changes are inevitable. We cannot continue to travel and commute in the same way we have, because it's just unsustainable from a congestion perspective, from an environmental perspective, and just general quality of life perspective. And so people will need to make individual changes, and if they are willing to start shifting their patterns and behaviors, we might together be able to move us in a direction that we really do want to go in.
My name is Lesedi and you are watching Joburg Today.
There's nothing like a good pair of shoes, a jacket, or a dress that'll make you feel on top of the moon, or just simply socks.
If we look at a 2015 man, he's a guy who wakes up in the morning, goes to the gym, has a job or 2 jobs, has a business on the side, and will go to have a drink with his friends and attend an event. And if you look at his lifestyle, fashion plays an integral part, and your socks will then be the one thing that he considers the most, because that's the one thing that's gonna set him apart. Always my mom insisted that I wash my socks inside out, and to that it instilled a sense of attention to detail when it comes to my socks. But also I'm a very tall guy, I'm 1.9 meters tall, so I've always struggled to find pants that fit properly, and I had to compensate for the gap between my shoes and my pants by wearing outrageous socks. And since then I've been collecting crazy designs and socks and been wearing them. But up until April 2013, when I said, you know what, let me turn my passion into a profit, and I started designing and making my own socks. What makes them unique is that they're proudly South African. You know, they're 100% South African. They're made out of the best yarns in the world, the highest quality ever. It's 80% cotton. When you look at my socks, we're telling a very urban and today South African story. It's a South Africa that was imagined in 1994, a very multinational, a very multicultural, colorful South Africa. And we're telling that story and putting it in a sock.
I, for one, can definitely say that I'm not one of those guys who actually takes into consideration the type of socks that they wear. But this particular individual has made me see things quite differently. And I must say, these really look awesome. I might just get myself a pair. I'm Riley Sakwe for Joburg Today.
What's good, everybody? This is Solo, and you're watching Joburg Today.
And that's all the time we have for you today, but be sure to check out our playlist to see what's happening in and around your beautiful city. That's it from me, Riley. I leave you with The Bright Lights by Just Ginger. Enjoy.
Back in ETV.
You can only find the great white light when you're not looking, and you should only look when you're willing to see what's surrounding you, please. Come on, don't look away. It'll all come back to haunt you. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to believe in you. You can't take control again. You can be the change, my friend, when you see through who you are. You can have it all. You can become whole again. You know that's what you need. You know that's what you want. And yet you find another lover, baby. You can wait patiently, and you will see there is love in your heart. Come on, don't look away. It'll all come back to haunt you. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to believe in you. You can take control again. You can be the change, my friend, if you see through who you are. You can have it all. You can become whole again. You know that's what you need. You know that's what you want. You know that's what you are. You can take control again when you see through who you are.